What's up, guys? Welcome back to another F1 2019 Career Mode episode. Today is another fun Grand Prix with the Italian Grand Prix at Monza. Probably one of my favorite circuits and one of my quickest circuits in the F1 game. Basically, all you have to do is hold the throttle down at max for like 80% of the lap and you get a good lap time. A few tricky turns like the Lesmos, so you gotta make sure you get those right, and Parabolica and Ascari, but other than that, it's not really too challenging of a lap. Dry qualifying and race, so no weather interference today, hopefully. Sometimes the prediction is a bit wrong. The R&D progress screen, you can see that we and Racing Point have no upgrades coming into this weekend, so but McLaren have upgraded just quite a bit. Fortunately for us, we have one of the best engines on the grid, so hopefully we can actually be in contention for a very high spot finish today, maybe even a podium if we get extremely lucky. Jumping into Q1, you will see that we aren't going to have any problems getting out of Q1. We are so far removed from like the bottom three teams at this point that it's not really a concern in Q1. You just set a decent lap time and you're automatically through. As you'll see that we finish up in the P3. The top teams aren't really trying to set their best lap times. Grosjean gets through too. He's all the way down in P11. He's a second off the pace, which is a bit concerning compared to where I am. I'm beating him by 7/10, but hopefully he's just holding back a little bit. As we go on to Q2 here, this is my first flying lap. You can see Roman Grosjean sets the fastest lap of the session, but 1:23.4 is not a particularly quick lap. As you'll see in just a second, Charles Leclerc sets a 1:21.7 to set the fastest lap of the session, and that's over a second up on Grosjean's time, so I hope he has the ability to use another set of tires here to get him through in the Q3, because it would be very disappointing for us if we don't get both cars Q3. Max Verstappen sets the fastest time, but we're immediately going to beat him with our own fastest time of 1:21.2. So that was a really good lap from us. Valtteri Bottas, with the Mercedes with the best engine on the grid, beats our time, but unfortunately Grosjean doesn't really improve all that much. He gets into the 1:22s, but that's not going to be good enough for him to move on the Q3. He was about 2/10 off Daniel Kvyat in 10th place there. So another disappointing qualifying session from him, but hopefully we can keep our pace up and move into Q2. But I just want you guys to take a look at this weather screen right here. Dry session throughout. And I'm going to emphasize that it's dry all the way through. 10 minutes. And a 12-minute session. But here we are at the end of my first flying lap. In Q3, you can see we go P4, we're 4/10 behind Verstappen in first. Cutting to the timing screen, Bottas gets the fastest lap with a 1:21.5, and now we're going to cut to our second flying lap because we only used one tire in one tire comp set in Q1 and Q2, so we have a spare one available for us to use in Q3. We're going to drive out of the pits here. You can see that it's overcast, but as I said, there is no rain forecasted on the forecast sheet, and what do you know? It's raining. So the team didn't have the foresight to realize that it's raining. Jumping to the beginning of the lap, you can see that it's raining even more now, and it's just too wet. I'm not going to set a fastest lap time here. I'm not going to improve my time. I'm already 8/10 down, a whole second down after the first corner. So at this point, it's just impossible to set a faster lap. I don't know how Vettel, Hamilton, and Bottas set their fastest laps. If you go back and look, it was Verstappen and Leclerc 1-2 when I started my second flying lap. So I don't know how those three managed to go faster than Leclerc at the dying seconds in the rain. But regardless, hopefully we can make it a good race.
It's race day here in Italy once again. Monza, home to so many records. The smallest winning margin, for example. Do you remember in 1971, Peter Gethin beat Ronnie Peterson to the line by 1/100th of a second. There were 40 overtakes for the lead alone in 1965, and Kimi Raikkonen clocked a record top speed of 230 miles per hour here, just over a decade ago. So there's a lot to live up to then for all of our drivers today. With top speeds reaching 215 miles per hour, only a few places can challenge Monza's crown as the fastest circuit in F1. Hard braking zones going into the 3 chicanes make up the majority of the 11 corners on this 3.6-mile circuit. And just in case the slipstream wasn't enough, 2 DRS zones will help encourage some closer action. With me today, of course, is Anthony Davidson. Now, I want to ask you about Lewis Hamilton. They've got a really good lead in the championship going into this weekend. So it feels to me that they've got one hand on the trophy.
Certainly there are worse positions to be in, but it's vital they don't let complacency creep in. As soon as you let yourself think it's over before it actually is, that's where everything can and often will go wrong.
It's time to see how our drivers are stacking up after yesterday's exciting qualifying session. Sebastian Vettel has a clear track ahead of him today. He starts in pole position, and it's Lewis Hamilton alongside. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Bottas, Leclerc, Bird, and Stroll, Perez, Butler, Fiat, and Antonio Giovinazzi. Verstappen, they'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. Grosjean, Lucas Faber, and Raikkonen. Norris, Hülkenberg, Pierre Gasly, and Daniel Ricciardo. Russell and Robert Kubica takes the last spot on the grid. And with preparations almost complete, let's head down to the track.
This is our engine supplier's home Grand Prix. Let's give them a race worth watching.
So, luckily for us, a Max Verstappen grid penalty promotes us up in the P5. Easy, soft, to medium race here. The projected and the personalized strategies aren't too different from from each other, but unfortunately I accidentally switched to the personalized and I adjusted my fuel load on the projected. So instead of starting with 2 extra laps of fuel, I'm going to start with that extra half lap. But really, we can get a good position here if we get a good run off the line. It's a long run down the turn 1 here at Monza. I can't find the grip too much as the top 4 guys rather get away from us, and we are getting attacked up the inside by the 2 racing points, and we are fighting Perez with all we can, but he does get by us, but we are going to fight back. Unfortunately, Lance Stroll gets by, and he's up in the P5. We have to settle for P6 if we can get by Sergio Perez here, and we are going to managed to do that into the second chicane here at Monza. Running down to the Lesmos, you can see that Lance Stroll and the top 4 guys are getting kind of a bit away from us, but hopefully they'll battle and we can catch up as we fast forward down the long straights here at Monza. You can see that they are kind of driving away from us. I didn't get a good run out of Lesmo 2, but for some reason, I don't know what's happening here. There's a yellow flag. Can't really tell what's going on. And there's a virtual safety car. Don't know what happened there. Something happened behind me. No one retired from the race, so somebody must have spun out. It didn't really give me any reason. Definitely nothing in front of me. We didn't gain any position, but with the safety car ending, we accelerated just a bit too early. We go into the reds. We get a red delta right before the safety car ends, the virtual safety car ends, and I had to slow down right before I was actually supposed to accelerate, so that unfortunately got a bad run, and now it's taken me a lap to catch up to the top 5 guys again. Actually, top 4, as Sebastian Vettel has run off with this race. As you can see in the minimap, he's way far ahead. He's breaking the toe. The cars in front are going 3 wide in the Parabolica. It's a mayhem. Lewis Hamilton almost spins out as he saw his car go sideways for a second. And this is the lap where DRS gets enabled. So we will have DRS coming down to the straight. It's going to be absolute mayhem. There's going to be 5 cars in this battle going into turn 1. They're looking up the inside, but we decide to go up to the outside. Lance Stroll's locking up. I lock up a bit going up to the grass. And we somehow managed to find 2 positions in all that chaos. Realistically, I only dived up the outside because I didn't want to crash into Hamilton and Bottas. But it paid off. We do a double overtake into the first chicane. But unfortunately, we are losing touch to Stroll and Charles Leclerc up front. And so we're not getting slipstream from them, and it's going to leave us under attack from Bottas. We have to leave him a bit of room going into Ascari, and that just makes me get a poor run out, and that's going to let Charles Leclerc and Lance Stroll just run away, and I'm not going to be able to get slipstream on the resulting pit straight coming up, even with my higher cornering speed than the racing point. It's going to be fruitless. I'm going to be under attack from the 2 Mercedes cars behind me, who are the best cars on the grid. So I just have to sit here and take it. I'm going to switch my ERS down to nothing, because it is inevitable that Hamilton and Bottas gets by. Bottas not really too far ahead of me, and we kind of fight through the first chicane, but Bottas does get the position on us. But we are going to come back with Adam, not on purpose, but accidentally with slipstream. It's that powerful. I didn't have the engine turned up or anything. I was just trying to follow behind him. Bit of a lockup causes contact as we go into the second chicane. But that is us up in the P5. So, unfortunately for me, that overtake means I'm not going to get DRS down the back straight here. So that's Bottas, who has the Mercedes best engine on the grid, is going to come back at me, going to go up the inside at Ascari once again, but this time he is fully ahead of me, so I can't really fight him like I did on the previous lap. But as we fast forward here, I'm going to get DRS down the pit straight. Going to brake. Bottas goes really slow into Parabolica, and I just rear end him. Can't spin him out. He hits the wall. I think he broke a bit of a front wing, but he's not out of this race yet. And I guess that's what he gets for brake checking me. I don't know. I don't know how to fully explain it. My entry speed in the Parabolica was just way higher than his was, and I get the DRS down the main straight too on top of that. But unfortunately for us, that incident has left us vulnerable to Devin Butler behind us, pulling him into our slipstream, and unfortunately that's going to cause us to lose the position we won. We're back down to P6 after Bottas. Bit of a bad run out of Ascari, just applying too much throttle. That just caused me to lose back just a bit, but fortunately for us, we are going to get DRS down the main straight here. We are just going to speed up time a little bit to show just how quickly I'm gaining on Butler. The slipstream and the DRS is just super powerful in this game. And we are going to go around the outside that turns into the inside at turn 1. Trying to turn as much as possible to give him the room, but he doesn't really use it. I don't think I needed to do that, but we still get the position regardless. We're up in the P5 now. Going on to lap 8. Devin Butler is still right behind us. It's impossible. As pit engineer, Jeff tells me that it's going to be our pit stop time soon. Devin Butler tries to make a move. A little bit of contact there. I left him just enough space, but I guess he wasn't good enough to avoid tapping me. But as I was saying, it's impossible to break away if the car behind you is on equal pace as you, because the slipstream and the DRS is just going to tow them along here. It's basically impossible unless they make a mistake and they run out. As you can see, I was pushing it as hard as I could through the Lesmos, and Devin Butler is still right alongside of me, flying by with DRS down the back straight. And now I'm going to get the slipstream, and I'm just going to stay with him. So even though the Red Bull is technically faster down around the corners like a Lesmo, and I'm faster down the straights, we can't seem to break away from each other. And as you heard from Jeff, the tire situation is not good. It's very bad. I've never actually heard that radio message from him, so the tire wear must be pretty bad. Devin Butler defends quite a bit going into turn 1. I missed the second apex, and as you'll see here in a second, this is why Jeff said my tire wear is really bad. My left rear is at 60%, my right rear is at 54%. I'm just burning them up on all these high traction zones coming out of the slow speed corners. It's stuck behind Devin Butler still, and it's going to take us up till the main pit straight at lap 10 to actually try to make a move on him. As you'll be able to see, DRS and Slipstream once again are going to aid us, even though we have a way powerful engine, way more powerful than the Honda engine that's in the Red Bull. It's the DRS and the Slipstream never hurt to use, and this is our pit lap right here, lap 11. I don't think these tires could last much longer anyway, so they're probably getting close to puncture territory as we move towards the end of the lap here. We are going to come for our pits. Devin Butler is going to come in right behind us, and hopefully we're going to get a good pit stop here so we can actually stay ahead. I don't think we have any upgrades on the pit speed, so it's going to be not so quick pit stop, but hopefully Devin doesn't have a good stop either. So as you'll see here, tires off, tires on, it's 2.5 seconds stop, and we managed to stay ahead of Butler. So luckily for us, we don't get jumped in the pits, and hopefully we can manage to break away on fresh tires. As we come out of the pits here, Hulkenberg and Fix are going side by side down the main straight, almost colliding with them, and Hulkenberg gets in front. A crazy battle to see. I didn't even know that they were coming down the pit straight. Much less Hulkenberg almost colliding with me. But as you'll see, their slipstream is going to help me kind of break away from Butler in a minute, hopefully. Hopefully I'll be able to overtake them, and Devin won't. But Kubica and the Williams is so slow through Lesmo 1, I'm actually going to make a move on him in the Lesmo 2. He brakes early and I just take the position back up into P11. We were one of the earliest pit stops. We get DRS on the Williams and Hulkenberg here. That allows us to kind of pull away from Butler, but he gets past the Williams too. Grosjean in the pits, and we should be able to easily overtake Hulkenberg down the main straight here. He's not going to have DRS. We have slipstream assistance and a much more powerful engine as well. Before the DRS is even active, we're right alongside him, and with the DRS, just watch us fly off into the distance here. Cleanly in front of him. Devin Butler, not so lucky. He doesn't get in front of Hulkenberg, and hopefully we can use this to our advantage to drive away. As you can see, lap 14, we have put a bit of a gap between us and Devin Butler behind, and now it's up to us to catch Lance Stroll in front. You see we're 7.1 seconds behind, and our fastest lap so far is a 1:24.7, but I've been lapping around 3/10 slower than that, so as you'll see here. As you see, Lance is doing a 1:26, and I've been constantly doing about 3/10 slower than my best, so I've been about doing 1:25s. So I've been roughly doing about a second a lap faster than he is, so hopefully in 12 laps time, I don't expect him to be a second slower than me every single lap, but hopefully by the end of the race, 12 laps time, we can hopefully get him. As we jump to a few laps, you can see the time delta is shrinking. We are finally getting really close to Lance Stroll here on lap 21. You'll see that we aren't quite close enough for DRS yet, 1.7 seconds, but we are getting closer. You can see him in field of view in front of us. And we're getting really close now on lap 23. Devin Butler's got overtaken by Sergio Perez, and he's just long gone at this point. As we go down the main straight here, 1.07 seconds behind Stroll. So close to getting DRS, but not quite yet, so we're going to have to wait a little bit to actually get it. But we're on lap 24. We have 4 laps left, including this one. 4 laps left, including this one, and as we move on to the back straight here, you'll see that we're going to get DRS on Stroll finally as we push through Lesmo 1 and 2 enough to actually gain that 0.07 seconds that we needed. We're turning the engine down to save fuel mix and ERS for when we actually have to overtake them, and this is the moment we turn our engine up to max power, DRS assistance, and we're going to fly high Lance Stroll here, going up the inside, going defensive. We're going to make sure Lance Stroll doesn't get a good exit, and we're going to keep the engine pumping so we can actually hopefully break the toe here. This is going to be my one chance to actually do it. If we can make sure we get out of the 1 second gap between us and Stroll, we might have a chance to not have to worry about him for the rest of the race here. As you can see, we are 1.1 seconds ahead, so it actually worked. Lance got a bad enough exit, and Lando Norris is out of the race. Must have had a mechanical failure or engine failure, as you'll see coming up right here on the left side of your screen. You can see that he's pulled off to the left. In real life, that probably would have been a virtual safety car, but with 2 laps left in the race, the FIA is not going to call it. And as you'll see, no virtual safety car. Sebastian Vettel, dominant win for the Scuderia in Italy. Oh boy, man, I tripped over my words. I want to say Italian Grand Prix, and then I want to say Italy. But regardless, we're going to have a great finish here. P4. Gonna set our fastest lap of the race on the final lap too.
That's the end of the race. We'll see you in Parc Fermé.
Well, what a drive that was to take the win for Ferrari today. Anthony Davidson, how do you think they were able to set themselves apart today?
I'd say it was down once again to good, consistent driving, nailing the corners, working to the track conditions, and perfecting the team's strategies. They got all of these things right today, and the results speak for themselves.
Looking at the podium, you can see that red suit familiar to fans across the globe. A world-class win for a world-class team. Ferrari do it again.
So another great position for us in the race, P4, moving up 1 position from the grid spot. Nice solid 12 points. We set our fastest lap at the very last lap of the race, but unfortunately Lewis Hamilton was just too quick. We couldn't really match his time. We were still 5 tenths down compared our fastest laps. Grosjean actually gets a singular point for the first time in what feels like ages. I don't know why it's taking him so long, but it looks like he barely even got it too. If I look at the times difference, it looks like he just lost out to Lucas Weber and also Devin Butler right in front. Jumping to the driver standings, you can see that we are still in 7th place, but Sergio Perez is still lurking behind, 13 points, 1 bad race, and that will allow Perez to catch up and maybe even overtake us. Roman Grosjean loses a position to Lance Stroll, who had an awesome finish up in P5 for the Italian Grand Prix here, and that's giving him the points to overtake Grosjean, and that's unfortunately not good for the constructor standings, as you'll see in one moment, because now there are 2 racing points above Grosjean, and now the racing point is only 5 points behind the Haas team. So Grosjean better step his game up, or we might actually lose out best of the rest status to Racing Point if we can't. If Sergio Perez and Lance Stroll keep up their good performances like they did today, we might actually be in trouble. So Grosjean has to step up, where the team has to get a different driver. I don't really care, because I don't want to lose out this position just because Roman Grosjean's not performing up to speed with the car. It's way better than what he's been doing. But speaking of car performance, we have 1,500 points to put into the R&D chart. We have one major upgrade coming for the chassis and downforce sections. I have enough to put into one major upgrade for either the chassis or the downforce, but I could also do 2 minors on the powertrain. So I think I'm going to do that. I'm going to put the 2 minors on. One, I could either do ERS fuel or fuel consumption. We already do have the one extra fuel consumption on the car, and we're going to put another one on. We're also going to do an engine power upgrade. Just want to get that extra engine power, but also want to save fuel while running on the standard mixture instead of just being even, because before standard would drain it. Now I'm at the spot where standard is even, and hopefully now standard mixture will save fuel so I don't have to run in low mixture anymore. But that means we're going to have huge upgrades coming to each side of the car, the powertrain, downforce, and chassis section of the car in Singapore next week. Hopefully that means we will launch up further away from Racing Point and we could actually separate ourselves from them in the constructor standing, and hopefully Grosjean will finally realize the potential of the car. I don't understand why he is so slow in this game. Unfortunately, I'd rather have Magnussen as my teammate, but the glitch when we started the career mode meant that Grosjean's my partner. But regardless of that, we got to make do with what we have in front of us, and hopefully we can capitalize on our upgrades next time in Singapore and get no failures going into the weekend. But that's all I got for this video. If you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like, and if you want to see more content in the future and the rest of the season, make sure to hit the subscribe button for notifications for my next video. I don't know when that's going to come out. I'm kind of been lazy doing a bunch of editing and recording, but regardless, I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.